There are around 26 brand new NPC drivers in Mario Kart World, but what if we added double that amount, or at least close to? Because today I'm adding 47 total brand new NPC racers into Mario Kart World. Now, it was very easy just to go through every single Mario game ever and just add everyone, but this video would have been like 3 hours long. So instead, I chose the ones that would make the most sense, and I'm also going to be telling you what the Kamek item would do when it spawns you into that character as well. So making this a little bit more in detail, also telling you where we would unlock this character, and also what weight class this character would fall in. Real quick before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Kart World. We've got about 98 subscribers coming in each day. Let's see if today's video can be different and we can get over 100. So if you enjoyed the video, let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's dive into all the new NPC characters that Mario Kart World could have. First off, we have Blooper, which is one of the main enemies in Mario, so I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen Blooper in any capacity as a racer or really anything else outside of an item, so I really hope Blooper does make it. The Kamek item can leave a bunch of ink all over the road, making it slippy, and you can unlock Blooper in water areas, and Blooper would probably be a lightweight. Chain Chomp is already in the game as an enemy and even has a Kamek spawn for most NPC characters that just spawns a bunch of giant rolling Chain Chomps, so literally that's all it would have to do, and I could definitely see this character being added. Who cares if he's too big? He definitely happened in sports games, so we can definitely see it in Mario Kart, and you could probably unlock him in that sewer half pipe area where there's a bunch of Chain Chomps rolling back and forth, and definitely would be a heavyweight. We also have Thwomp and Whomp, which are classic enemies, and both of them are in this game as enemies. So Thwomp can spawn a bunch of Thwomps that just drop down from the sky. You can see their shadow on the ground. You can unlock them at Bowser's Castle, and they'll be a heavyweight. And Whomp, pretty much the same thing. A bunch will spawn onto the track, which will spawn the ramp versions that are already in the game, which can either crush you or you can use them as ramps. You could unlock Whomp at Bowser's Castle, and he would be a heavyweight as well. I believe Sledge Bro is also in this game, but if not, it could just spawn a bunch of clouds where Sledge Bros line a track and toss giant hammers onto the track. Also, you'd probably unlock him around the Question Block Ruins area. I don't know why, don't ask me, it just felt right, and he would obviously be a heavyweight as well. I have grouped the Buzzy Beetle and the Spiny, once again classic enemies that are still not in this game. Their Kamek spawn could have tons of shells rolling towards the racers that you have to dodge, and also maybe you find them around the Choco Mountain area, kind of the cave sections of the map, and they would both be lightweights. We then have Bullet Bill, and the Kamek item can have a bunch fired towards the racers or horizontally across the track, and maybe a one giant Bonsai or King Bill comes flying down the center of the track at the end. You could find them and unlock them at Airship Fortress, and they would be a medium weight. It's still extremely strange to me that Boo's not in this game. Like, how did Peepa make it and Boo didn't? Once again, it could just be an item thing since he is an item, but who cares? Put Boo in this game, and maybe the Kamek item makes a bunch of Boos spawn on the track and appear and disappear very slowly, so just little obstacles everywhere. You can unlock them at Boo's Cinema or just the area surrounding, and they would be a lightweight. And Bob-omb, once again, being another item, but an obvious one that should just straight up be in this game, where they already have a Kamek item spawn for them, where Kamek spawns a bunch of bombs all over the track, and they just all detonate at a random time. You could find them in the Bowser's Castle area, and they would also be lightweight. If you have Sledge Bro, you have to have Sumo Bro as well, which is already in the game as well, and they appear on blocks and drop lightning orbs on the players. The same thing would happen with the Kamek item, summoning a bunch of them, where a bunch of them are dropping that electricity. You can find them around that Bowser's Castle Great Wall area, where they already spawn on that part, and they would obviously be a heavyweight. Also, you have the regular Sumo Bro and the Boss Sumo Bro, so either of them would work here. Next up, they could add some of those dinosaurs from Super Mario World, such as Rex, Dino Rhino, or maybe even Reznor would be pretty cool. Now, Kamek would cause a dino stampede of that specific dinosaur horizontally across the track, and you could find and unlock them in Dino Jungle area, plus they'd be either probably around medium weight to heavyweights. You could have the sea urchins from the new Super Mario Bros. Games, and pretty much a lot of other Mario games as well. They actually had a lot of appearances that I just didn't realize. They could bubble up from the water from the Kamek spawn and just kind of cover the ocean area, and obviously you'd find them in water areas, and they'd probably be heavyweight. Ninja is genuinely another complete shock from mine. I mean, they've really been moving their way up into main character status, even appearing in things like Mario Golf Super Rush, and yeah, even the recent Mario Party Jamboree. So yeah, kind of confusing to me, but I can see the Kamek spawn being a bunch of random things all over the track, and then they transform transform into ninjas where they hop up and down over and over again, as racers have to avoid them. You can find them in Cheap Falls area, and they'd be a lightweight. Mecha Koopa could get an addition, and maybe Kamek could line the track on both sides with Mecha Koopas that are spitting fire out at the racers. You can find them at Toad's factory, and they'd be a medium weight. The Amp enemy would be a unique one, and for the Kamek spawn, a bunch of them would form a little electric path that you have to follow that's already within the path of the course, making it extremely tight, which would be pretty cool, and they would be found pretty much anywhere and be a lightweight. Who wouldn't want to play as a giant Mario-themed eyeball? Mr. Eye would be a pretty unique addition, and maybe the spawn from Kamek would be lining the track and shooting lasers across trying to hit racers. You can find them in the Ghost region, and they would be a heavyweight since they're just so massive in the games that they appear in. Bullies are already in the game, so why not make them playable characters? Yeah, they're actually pretty giant, so it'd be a little strange to see them squeeze into a little cart, but still, it could work. They're already an enemy in the game, like I said, so the Kamek spawn could be simple, spawning a bunch of them in a swarm that can chase players and bounce them around. You can find them anywhere, and they would be heavyweights. We have Shy Guy, sure, but Sniffit never gets any love, and if we have Monty Mole and Rocky Wrench, why can't we have Shy Guy and Sniffit as well? Maybe the Kamek spawn could be a bunch of them lined up the track, firing bullets everywhere out of their mask, and you can find them anywhere, and they'll be lightweights. Klepto from Mario 64 made a reappearance in Mario Odyssey, so why not give him a cart and let him drive? They could be a bunch of them swoop into the air for their Kamek spawn, and they all sweep down into the track to hit racers as they're driving by. You'd obviously would unlock them in the desert, and they'd be around a medium weight. And as a massive Sunshine fan, I'm so disappointed that we have Piantas in this game, but not Nokis. It doesn't even make any sense as the second main character race in Super Mario Sunshine. So add the Nokis. Their Kamek spawn could be just a bunch of them just get scared and drop into their shells on the track, leaving tons of shells as obstacles. You can find them around beach areas, obviously, and they would all be lightweights. Next up, let's move on to some of the other 3D Mario games. For instance, going on with Sunshine still, we have Stroll and Stu. Maybe they could be just like Goombas that are already within the game, where when they spawn from Kamek, a bunch of them just run and chase after you. They already look like Goombas, so they could have a very similar model. I mean, they're literally just Sunshine versions of Goomba. You can find them anywhere, and they would be lightweight. From Galaxy, you have Luma, which is kind of a surprise that they're not in this game. They are in this game as just background characters, as actual NPCs, but not NPC racers, so throw them in the game as actual racers. It just makes too much sense. As far as the Kamek spawn, I really don't know. Maybe they actually help you, where a bunch of Lumas will just spawn in and just rain a bunch of star bits, where if you collect it, you'll get a little boost of speed like a mushroom, and you can find them and unlock them at Starview Peak or around that area, and they would be lightweights. You have the Honeybees from Mario Galaxy, and they literally fit that role as just random NPC character drivers. For their Kamek spawn, maybe leave a bunch of sticky honey all over the track that can slow you down or stop you altogether. You can find them in the forest area, and they would be lightweights. You also have the bunnies that have appeared in multiple different Mario games like 64, Galaxy, and even Mario 3D World, where pretty much it's just a bunny rabbit. Why not? That's also just the term NPC character right there. Maybe the Kamek spawn just spawns a bunch of them that hops away, dropping a bunch of random items all over the track, and you can find them around Peach Stadium, and they'll be lightweights. You can also have Gyrmos from Mario Galaxy, and maybe their spawn is they leave a bunch of just junk or trash all over the track, or maybe even bombs, since that's what they do in the game, where you have to actually blow up the trash, because that's how they take out the trash for some reason. You can find them in Toad's factory, and they would be a medium weight. You didn't have the Octoombas from Mario Galaxy, which could also share models with the Goombas, as they're pretty much the same exact enemy and supposed to represent them in just a galaxy form. They could line the track and fire rocks across, trying to hit enemies for their Kamek spawn, and you can unlock them around Starview Peak area, and they'll be lightweights. You also have Lava Bubbles, which is just literally a ball of lava, which would just be so funny to see driving around. I mean, if Fishbone and Swoop can make it into this game, why can't Lava Bubble? Where their spawn will be a bunch of lava pools, and they will be hopping in between them as enemies that you have to dodge. You can find them in all the lava areas around Bowser's Castle or Dry Bones Burnout, and they would be lightweights. You could also have those dreidel enemies called Top Men from Mario Odyssey. Top Man could have a Kamek spawn of a bunch of them just spawning all over the track and bouncing players around. It won't deal damage, but it'll be like the bumpers from Waluigi Pinball, and you can unlock them in Wario Stadium or Toad's Factory, and they'd be a medium weight. From Super Mario Galaxy 2, you have the Whittles, which is a bunch of little wood creatures, which would be a cool NPC driver. For their Kamek spawn, they would spawn a bunch of them just maybe walking around the track. They didn't really do much besides, talk to you in that game, so it's hard to say what they could do as a Kamek spawn. You can unlock them at the forest area of the map, and they'd be lightweights. Believe it or not, fuzzies are also in Mario Kart World. They're only appearing in like a couple of P-Switch missions as obstacles and enemies, so they should appear as drivers too. Why not? So their Kamek spawn would be a bunch of lines going across the tracks, and a bunch of fuzzies riding those lines going in different directions, making you have to dodge them as you're going through those little fuzzy lines. And also, they could pretty much be spawned anywhere, and they'd be a lightweight. You could have the Ant Troopers from Mario 3D World, which seems to be an enemy that keeps reoccurring in some like Mario spin-offs, like Mario Party Jamboree. Their spawn would be a line of ants that walk across the road, and you just have to dodge them, kind of similar to the Bitty Buds that walk across or fly across. You can find them and spawn them and unlock them anywhere, and they'd probably be around a medium weight because some of them can get kind of big. I could honestly give all of them their own category because it's like the first Mario game where we had so many NPC characters, but Super Mario Odyssey, you could pick anybody from any of the kingdoms to represent their own kingdom as an NPC character. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if they ended up having like an Odyssey pack that just had all those NPC characters and stuff that you could choose from. One from each kingdom would be awesome. As far as what their spawns would be, it'd just be something random or something because it'd be so many of them and you can't give each of them their own. I mean, you could, it would just take a while and spend another 10 minutes doing so. But yeah, they'd all be, varying different weights, so it's also hard to put them in categories with that as well. And you would just unlock them from various regions. Like the Metro Kingdom people, you could just unlock them from Crown City, or the Chivarians from the snow area. It's just that simple. I hate limiting Poochie to an NPC character since he's already been in like Mario Kart Tour, but he probably would be. I'm not sure what his spawn from Kamek would be. Maybe just a bunch of Poochie dogs, or maybe the Poochie pups running around from like Yoshi's Crafted World or something. And I can't remember exactly what he was in Tour, but I would think he was around a heavyweight or a medium weight. You also have Uproots from Super Mario Odyssey, which was a memorable enemy. Kamek can spawn a bunch of them on the track where they'll raise and lower themselves, and when they raise, you can drive underneath their legs, but when they drop down, you have to watch out or you'll take damage. You can unlock them in the woods area, and they would be a medium weight. Pokio is another memorable bird enemy from Odyssey that you could add, and for the Kamek spawn, you can spawn a bunch of them lining the track and sticking their beaks in and out and trying to poke racers as they're flying by. You can spawn them at the Cheep Cheep Falls area, and they'd be a medium weight. If we have Dolphin in this game, why not the obscure Sushi enemy from Super Mario Brothers, where it's just this giant shark that could spawn in the water. Kamek could spawn a bunch of them in the water areas, and of course, that's where you would unlock them, and they'd be around a medium to a heavyweight, but I'd say medium to match Dolphin in this game. And if we have Sushi and Dolphin in this game, why not add Unagi, which is very strange because Unagi doesn't appear in any of the oceans in this game, just like there's tons of other ocean creatures. Very surprising that Unagi doesn't appear, unless I just haven't found him yet. But he'd be just like I said, just like the Dolphin, kind of laying on the bike or the cart. And Kamek could have a bunch of them spawning out of the water. You'll see giant shadows where they'll pop up and try to eat racers as you're driving by on water areas, and that's obviously where you will unlock them, and they'll be heavyweights. You could have Bruiser from New Super Mario Brothers, where he'll just spawn by a bunch of them punching their way onto the track, and they'll chase all the racers racing by and trying to punch them in order to knock them off the track. You can find and unlock them around the Boo Cinema area, and they'd be a medium weight. Snailicorn is probably one of the most rarest enemy types in Mario games, and yes, you probably forgot or you didn't even know he existed. He comes from New Super Mario Brothers on the DS, and pretty much just chases after players like the bully enemy or the bruiser. So pretty much, yes, Kamek would spawn a bunch of them on the track and they would chase after racers just like the bully does. You can find them in ice areas and they'd be a heavyweight. You also have the Scaredy Rat, which just makes a lot of sense because if Swoop and once again Fishbone are in this game, I feel like Scaredy Rat is just one of those weird obscure enemies that fits that trend as well. The Kamek spawn would just spawn a bunch of the rats that cover all over the track and you'd have to dodge them. You can find them in the Haunted Woods area and they would be lightweights. Next up, we have Flipperus from New Super Mario Brothers U, which is a newer enemy for the Mario franchise. It's a pink walrus, and just like he can in the game, his Kamek spawn will be a bunch of them just rolling giant snowballs down the middle of the track. You can find them in the snow or ice areas, and they'll be heavyweights. We have Taifus in the game, but what about the baby ones that could actually work as drivers, like the Foos? Yeah, that's actually what they're called. So their Kamek spawn would just spawn probably a bunch of Taifus on the map where they'll blow you off the track, which are, like I said, already obstacles and enemies in this game. game. You can find them and unlock them in the snow areas, and they will be lightweights. We have scuttlebugs, which are like spiders of the Mario universe. They could spawn a bunch of scuttlebugs that drop down from trees or drop down on their spider webs and go back up, or maybe they'll spawn a bunch of spider webs all over the track that can get you stuck in them, and you can find and unlock them in jungle areas, and they'd be medium weights. We then have a bunch of Mario Wonder characters, like the Poplins, which are like the new flower versions of the Toads from the Flower Kingdom. I'm not sure what they would do for mechanic spawn because they're just like Toads. I feel like Nintendo would just add these characters, but they'd probably be lightweights. You also have Bull Rush enemies from that game, which are just pretty much giant blue bulls with spandex on, or whatever that is. There's already bull characters and NPC animals in the game in the Safari region, so they could just spawn a bunch of them that run across the road. You can once again find and unlock them in that Safari region, and they'd be heavyweights. You also have Hoppos from that same game of Mario Wonder. You can also find and unlock them in the Safari region, and the Kamek spawn would just spawn a bunch of them that bounce around all over the tracks. They'd be heavyweights. And last but not least, you would have the viruses from Dr. Mario. It'd be cool if their tricks and just their little animations could change their colors. So every time you do a trick, you change a color from red, blue, yellow, maybe even the newer ones like the green, purple, and light blue would be pretty cool to be thrown in there, or eventually just add them all as just alternate colors and costumes for them. But yeah, for the virus, a bunch of them would just walk in a line across the track, and you can find and unlock them anywhere, and they'd all be lightweights. And that was over 47 brand new NPC characters that Nintendo could actually add to Mario Kart World. I really hope that there's free updates where they actually add a bunch more of these, because I feel like under the term NPC character, it almost gives them a leadway to just keep adding more, because why do they have to stop? Just keep adding more slots and keep adding more crazy, wacky enemies and other characters throughout Mario franchises. But I know a lot of people also still want to see more main characters as well, and that is for another video. So comment down below in all caps the word main characters, or technically the words main characters, followed by your main character wish for Mario Kart World. We'll be covering that in a whole separate video because there's a bunch they could add from that one. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario Kart World and Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all in the next one, and I hope you all have a blessed day and a great 4th of July if you're celebrating today. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.